A few months ago, I tested out tutoring English on a site called Preply. Overall, it was a pretty positive experience. There were definitely things about the platform that I didn't like, but overall, I had a pretty good time interacting with my students. And I earned some money too. Well, I decided to stop tutoring, and I wanted to go over the 3 reasons that I stopped tutoring on Preply, and then give you 3 more reasons that I think are great reasons to stick with it or to start tutoring if you haven't yet. This video is more about making the decision to spend my limited amount of free time tutoring as opposed to other ways to earn side income. If you're looking for a video that's more about how tutoring works and my experience being a tutor, then check out this video up here. So here are my 3 reasons that I decided to stop tutoring on Preply. Number 1 is that tutoring takes a ton of time. Let's start by talking about how much free time you have, or that I have, to devote to side hustles. For me, it means evenings after my kids go to bed 2 or 3 nights a week, I get 2 or 3 hours, sometimes 4, and when I don't have other things going on. So that's a maximum of about 12 hours a week that I have to devote to all of my side hustles. As an hourly rate, I earn about $9 an hour on Preply, but even if that was a much higher hourly rate, I could just not justify spending my free time tutoring. Number 2 is that my primary income is plenty to provide for my needs, so to make it worthwhile, I needed to earn a much higher hourly rate than what I earn at my full-time job, and that just wasn't the case. If I'm going to get beyond needing a job, then I need to make much more per hour of time spent. And this is all based on my goals, so if you have different goals, then definitely take this with a grain of salt. But I have a full-time job, and I would love to find a way to stop working full-time. That means replacing my entire salary. Tutoring on Preply has the potential to replace a big portion of my income, but that comes at the expense of the freedom that is the whole reason I want to quit my job in the first place. So for me, it just doesn't make sense. Tutoring on Preply is definitely an interesting side hustle, and it's a way you can earn some extra money, but it has no passive element to it. And this feeds right back into the first thing I was talking about, is that even with my print-on-demand business, there's a passive element. The hours that I spend now creating and uploading designs have the potential to pay off for years to come, and that just isn't true with an hourly gig like Preply. The last reason that I decided to stop tutoring on Preply is the amount of time it was taking late at night. So even though it was fun for a while, scheduling with students around the globe meant late hours for me. So students that I had in like Eastern Europe were going to be awake, or in the morning when I was going to bed most of the time. So that meant that in order to make our schedules work, when I could be available and they could be available, it meant that I had to stay up till 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning in order to meet my students. And that meant a lot less sleep than normal. Scheduling wasn't so bad when I just had one student, but as I added more students, scheduling became kind of a nightmare. I ended up being up late, and it wasn't worth it for the amount of sleep that I was losing. Now, this would be different if I were doing Preply as a full-time job, because I would be able to schedule things during daytime hours for me. Unfortunately, as a side hustle, that just wasn't the case. So let's jump into 3 reasons that I think you should keep tutoring, or that I would have kept tutoring had I had the opportunity. So this is all based on my situation. Your goals may be different from mine, or you may be looking for an hourly gig that can generate you some income or even to live off of. I have my primary needs met by my full-time job. So for me, what I want to do is leverage my available time off to create passive income sources. Now, not everyone is in that same situation, and that being said, here are the 3 reasons why I would keep tutoring or start tutoring on Preply. Number 1 is it's just fun. The fact that it's fun is the real reason you're doing it. You think of it as a fun hobby, you make a little money, and that's a bonus, but really what you have fun doing is learning about other cultures, meeting new people from around the world. I actually almost kept tutoring one of my students after I decided I was going to turn off the rest of my account, just because it was so much fun talking to him. We had a good time, and he got to learn and practice his English, and I got to learn about his culture. It was actually a lot of fun. Ultimately, I decided it just wasn't fair to him to not be dedicated to learning how to tutor better, to giving him what he needed. I think somebody else who was really into it probably would have spent more time with him, known more about how to properly tutor him in what he had deficits in. It just isn't what I was good at, and for one single student, it just didn't make sense to learn. All right, what's the second reason that you might want to continue or start tutoring on Preply? And that is if you don't have your basic needs met. What if you need a job and you need something flexible? Preply is a perfect thing to do if you are proficient in English and you have the time. You don't necessarily have time for a full-time job, or maybe you can't be out of the home, but you do have the time for meeting students online at specified times. Preply could be great for you. Now, you get to set your own pay rate, you determine your schedule, you can work as much or as little as you want to. For a lot of people, that makes a lot of sense. And the third reason that I came up with that I think would be a good reason to keep tutoring is if you want to earn money to put into another venture or to invest in something that's maybe risky or that you aren't so sure about. You want to take a chance, but you don't want to risk money that you can't afford to lose, or money that has already been earmarked for other things like your living expenses, for your family or what have you. So for example, maybe you want to try out a risky business venture or invest in crypto or something speculative that you don't want to risk money you can't afford to lose. In that case, working on the side to earn money to invest is a great way to get started, and all you're really risking is that time you spent. Have you been tutoring, or are you thinking about starting a side hustle? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.